Hi everyone! So today I want to show you how to make a type of superfood that's an excellent companion for your NAD boosters. So if you're taking NR, NMN, and you want something that will probably help you in more than one way, this is the video you've been waiting for. So if you're taking NR or NMN or some type of precursor to NAD, or maybe you're taking NAD directly intravenously or even orally, which is not a good idea because apparently it's not very well absorbed, you will digest it more than use it directly. But if you're taking any type of NAD precursor as an anti-aging regime perhaps, then there are two possible concerns. It's maybe concerns. These are not things that we are sure about yet because there's so little studies on these things. So the first thing is, can this lead to cancer? That's a question. Well, because you activate sirtuins and because you're silencing the aging information, so age-related information, and you're kind of rejuvenating yourself in a sense, then the probability of getting most of the age-related diseases decreases. So you would actually expect the opposite, getting better health in general and reducing your risk of getting cancer. However, there's at least one study, and this is very strange because it's only one study and it's on mice and it's on a very particular type of cancer where they found the following. They found that if you have senescent cells, then, and you have cancer, this type of cancer, well then if you supplement with I'm not sure if it was NR or NMN, but one of these two, then you can actually increase your NAD levels, but this will also increase the cancerous lesions and the number of precancerous cells of this particular cancer. So there is a concern, but the thing is that this concern is mainly related to senescent cells. So the idea is that if you're going to be taking an NMN or NR or taking IVs of NAD, then number one, kill off some of the senescent cells. And how do you do that? There are many different ways. Some are natural, others less natural. You can watch my video on senescent cells. And so there you will find out that you can do it through fasting, 5-day fast, or you can do it through fisetin if you take adequate amounts of it, and so on. So the first thing is, before you take NAD boosters or before you take NAD, make sure you reduce the population of senescent cells that you have. Also, as you're taking these supplements, make sure that your fasting window at night when you don't eat is a little bit stretched so that you go a little bit hungry every day. And this will help clear out things better in your body. It's not going to necessarily kill off your senescent cells, but this will be helpful in a number of different ways. I also talk about this in another video on NAD, so we won't be focusing on it here. So that's the first thing. Kill off senescent cells if you can, and use fasting as a tool as you're taking NAD boosters. Okay, what's the second concern, or the second maybe concern? It's a maybe because it has to do with methylation. So when you take large amounts of NAD or NMN or NR, then you'll have to get rid of the excess. And for that purpose, your body will be using up methyl groups. And so if this happens, your body might be depleted in methyl groups. And methyl groups are useful, very useful, for a number of different things in the body. And so the concern is, might you get depleted in methyl groups? One way of measuring it is your taking a look at your homocysteine levels. Of course, this isn't the only thing. You might have other types of problems that lead to high homocysteine levels. But so this is just a way of checking that, more or less. But so is it a concern, really? Well, there is a lot of anecdotal evidence. So there are people, for instance, who already have some methylation issues, and when these people take NAD or NR or NMN boosters of NAD, then they feel worse, and their methylation-related problems become worse. So there seems to be something going on. And on the maybe positive side, there are some practitioners that work with intravenously applied NAD, and whenever they give a methyl donor together with the NAD, they see that the results, the positive results of the treatment, are much better than without the methyl donors. So it looks like there might be something going on. Okay, so these are the two issues. Now, let's get to our superfood. So what is this superfood? The superfood is fermented red beet juice. And I think it's also called kvass. So, why is this interesting? Why is this good? Well, you see, fermented red beets. Well, red beets in general, if you take 100 grams of red beets, you get about 129 milligrams of trimethylglycine, TMG, or betaine. It's an excellent and natural methyl group donor. Trimethylglycine. So it's great because it has 3 methyl groups, and it has glycine. Glycine is also really interesting because it's an amino acid that sometimes we actually don't really have enough of unless you eat a lot of connective tissues or do broths on connective tissues. Then you might actually be missing a little bit of glycine, and this is a great way of getting more of it for your personal connective tissues. So trimethylglycine is an excellent supplement, and here is a natural way of getting it from red beets. Okay, so that's one. But this isn't the only methyl donor that you will find. You see that the 100 grams of red beets also contain about 25% of your daily required dose of folate, which is actually also a methyl donor. But also, you have a lot of nitrates, positive, good nitrates, not the bad ones. And you know, the gas NO, nitric oxide, this is something that is released in your blood vessels, in the lining of them, when you do really intense exercise. And so this is why it's very good to do, for instance, high intensive training, maybe even for just a few minutes, a few times a day, so that you periodically release it and relax your blood vessels and increase the health of your blood vessels. So this is very good, and you get a lot of nitrates from the red beets as well. Okay, so but why fermented? Why do we want to ferment it? We want to ferment it because number one, you are automatically getting a probiotic. And in our world today, we have so many pesticides, so many chemicals, that it's really difficult to have a good bacterial flora in our digestive system. And so this is a great way of supplementing with probiotics. Okay, so you're getting a natural probiotic. What else? Well, when you ferment it, you will reduce the sugar intake, because red beets have a little bit more sugar. If you're concerned about the sugar, fermenting them, you will drastically reduce the sugar. And The fermentation process also helps with things like eliminating or greatly reducing some types of anti-nutrients, like phytic acid, for instance, and oxalates. These are things that are present in beets naturally. So you will be getting something that is fermented, has never been heated up, so it's full of all kinds of great nutrients, and the essential nutrients that you're looking for in this case is an extra high boost of TMG, trimethylglycine methyl donors, right? Okay, so let us take a look at what it looks like. How do you make this fermented superfood? Alright, so you start out by washing your beets. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple of little tips that sometimes few people know but do actually make a difference when it comes to fermenting red beets. So the first tip is choose small beets. You want to have tiny beets, the smallest that you can find, except for one that you're going to use as a lid, and that's a large beet that you want to have. Okay, so you start by washing your beets. After that, if you have one, do use it. It's an ozonator. So you would ozonate the beets in the water for maybe 10 minutes or so. This will kill off any bacteria or anything else that might be on them. And after that, you don't peel them. You actually leave the peel on, but you do cut off the ends. So you start with the largest beet, you cut off the ends, and then you create thin slices that you will be able to use as your lid later on. Then the rest of the beets you cut up into cubes. This is also another tip. Don't shred your beets or have larger pieces. You want them pretty much the size of an inch or maybe 2 centimeters. And as you start filling up your jar, after a while, you want to add a layer of your spices. Now, in my case, I'm using bay leaves, I'm using some black pepper, and I'm also using a little bit of garlic. I usually also add some allspice. I didn't have it today, so that's fine. And just don't add too much garlic, unless you want it to be very, very strongly garlicky. Some people don't like garlic at all, so you don't have to add that. These are just some suggestions for spices, and the bay leaves are very good for the fermentation process as well. Okay, so after you fill your jar, you will have maybe created 2 layers of spices. On the top, you want to now take your round pieces of the largest beet and use them as a lid. So you would kind of push them in from different sides so that they push everything down. And now you want to take 1 liter of water with some salt. So for 1 liter of water, you want to take a tablespoon of salt, mix it up, and just add that to your beets, to the jar of beets. And if you see that there's a little bit of water missing on top, then you just add a little extra until it's full. Thank you so much for watching. So I hope this was useful. Let me know if you have any comments or questions in the comment section. below the video, and a special thank you to all my patrons on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video.